Sustainable living.
Yeah.
I don't.
Welcome to Unique Prepping, and my name is Zachary Smouse. Unique Prepping is about preparing for the future in unique ways. No matter what limitations we have, we can always make the most out of what we have around us, and that's how we are going to succeed. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That Bible verse is why I have faith that no matter how difficult the future is, no matter what life you come from, or what the future holds, we as a society will succeed and make the future prosperous. Welcome to my channel, and let's prepare for a bright, exciting future together.
Hey, everybody.
Greetings, all.
I'm trying to join Zach's Discord.
Oh, has he got a Discord?
Yeah.
I'm watching the intro, and I'm thinking to myself, everybody's got these cool intros. I need to get an intro made like Zach's got.
Let's see here.
Good evening, our beautiful prepping communities, and welcome to the third installment of Community Discussions, where we can get some of the community together to discuss and share ideas on the future and how we could help make it possible to where we are actually independent on ourselves instead of living on systems that are trying to tear us down as human beings. I'm one of your hosts and community members, Unique Prepping, and with me are my co-hosts and our great community members, Grumpy Acres Farms and LifeDoneFree. On tonight's episode, we'll be discussing how we, as a prepping community, can evolve from actually prepping into homesteading into eventually what we call freesteading. Before we begin, how are you guys doing this evening?
G?
I'm doing good. I went out and cut wood a little bit today. Took some time to recover this afternoon. don't quite recover like I used to. But we did got some wood cut and made some fence posts actually.
Yeah, Zach, I'm doing good as well. Lots of work to do. Had to go into town today and deal with the zombie apocalypse a little bit, but I'm back to the farm, so life's pretty good.
That's good to hear, and I'm doing good myself, thank you. Before we get into the topic of tonight, I just want to give you insight into why I wanted to discuss this with Tag and Grumpy. For me, this topic is important to us and our future generations to come because this life is so vital and valuable to making sure we, as God's children, have an equal and important role in the building of our future. This is extremely crucial for us to understand that yes, there might be entities that are trying to stop us from actually acquiring the drive to do this, but I truly feel in my heart that if we can stop the division that the systems put us in, stop being offended by words or actions of our people, and actually build, grow, and learn from one another, then this would help us in evolving ourselves into a society that can lift each other up and grow this world into something more meaningful and beautiful. Anyway, tonight we will be answering questions about how to evolve from prepping into homesteading and then hopefully lead into freesteading. Also, we just want to thank the people in our chat for coming and supporting us this evening. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you're curious about something, please feel free to ask in the chat. We will do our best to get to it as soon as we can. Thank you. Before we get into the topic, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I don't think I would add to you, Zach, is that the world is creating division, and they do it on purpose because as long as we're fighting each other, we can't fight them. And there's so many more things that connect us than what divide us if we choose to focus on those things. So I don't think I could say it better than you said it, bud.
Yeah, I was just thinking, amen to what you were talking about. You know, and it's something. Dunking on someone or bad mouthing somebody is probably the easiest thing to do, and this building community takes. You have to be intentional about it. You know, that's one thing I've realized that we have to be intentional, and as long as we're working together, man, it's all gonna be good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what Rebecca said here is exactly right, that the natural progression of prepping is homesteading. But I would argue, and it kind of is the topic we're going to talk about tonight, I think the natural progression of homesteading is freesteading.
Yeah, exactly. I say it all the time. Preppers and homesteaders, we're not terribly too far apart. We've all got the same goals. We're at different places on that spectrum, and the beginning prepper is always moving towards becoming a homesteader, and the homesteader is always moving to becoming a freesteader.
Yeah.
Okay, Zach, can I tell my embarrassing Zach story? Can I tell people about you? We were talking before we went live, and I was telling Tag about Zach's progression from the first time I met him. So I met Zach about 2 years ago, and he would come on to Rescues Live, and he would ask questions about prepping. He was just starting his prepping journey, right? And he started learning this stuff, and he started doing more and more. He started his own channel. What did you say? August 6th, Zach? Was that August 6th, 2022?
26th.
August 26th, 2022. So he's at his channel for a year and a half. He's spreading the message. Well, look at the conversation we're having tonight. He is talking about taking it to the next level, and doing that. And he's the personification of that natural progression that we're talking about. You know, so kudos to you, Zach, man.
I got an embarrassing story about Grumpy if anybody wants to know. No.
Seriously. Drop it on me.
I'm just kidding.
Oh no, Zach, do not do anything that he can make fun of you, because you will get a nickname you cannot get rid of, and he will mercilessly tease you.
Yes, that's how it works.
Yep, it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah. So, Tag, you want to the comment about the organic progression? Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that, because you're seeing that more around the country than I am.
It's so weird how building community actually works, you know, and it's not what I originally thought it was. You know, I come from, for any of you guys who know me, I was a prepper first, you know, long before I was a homesteader. And so I started prepping, you know, in the mid 90s, and had been at it a long, long time, and thought from, you know, the books of, you know, James Wesley Rawls' Patriot, that what you needed to do is to go find this group, and you know, everyone was going to bug out to some house somewhere, and that you know, you'd ride out the zombie apocalypse with your ride and die crew. But it's just simply not really how it works, at least in my experience. Those kind of things just don't work that way. And it's you know, it's hard when you start out and you try to find community, because it's just not out there. And I can't tell you how many emails I get where people are saying, there's nobody around me, and the truth is, you just haven't found them. They're there, right? You just haven't found them. But once you pick up one, and then you've got a couple clans that have gotten together, and then two, and then three, it begins to pick up steam, and it becomes, you know, more and more and more fruitful. You know, your efforts are easier, kind of as you go through it. And you know, our community has expanded gigantic. We've had more expansion in 3 years than we did the 6 years before that. Mm-hmm. You know.
Well, and I you know, the community doesn't look community. I think we talked about this on our last live we did together, that the community doesn't look the same for everybody.
No.
Right? If you're prepping like what Zach's doing, and you're not into the homesteading sphere, your community may look completely different. You know, it may look more like the traditional mutual assistance group, right? Once you've been at it for a while, it's gonna morph into something mm-hmm. else.
Well, I know you know this, Grumpy. There are groups out there that function like that function like the James Wesley Rawls group. I just could never make it work for me.
I could never find one.
Right. Yeah.
And seriously, I could never find one.
Right.
And we know several people that have long-standing mutual assistant groups that are community. They are communities. They are definitely communities. You know, and so I guess that the next question is, Zach, are you finding community yet? Huh?
Well, he found this community.
That's true.
Oh, there we go. We got a question. Okay, so what does prepping mean to you, and how did you get started on or off YouTube? Okay, he said, hold on. We're getting the hold on. Okay.
What prepping means to me is that we start getting items that we need, and then we start doubling up on the items, which if you are buying things like multiple rolls of toilet paper or canned food, then that's the start of what it means to be on the prepping journey. I understand that it might be called being a prepper in most cases, but I don't like the term prepper because to me, it has a doom and gloom factor that makes me feel unsafe, like it's not going to be good in the future. I know it's a weird analogy, but that's why I like to be considered a prepping person, because it makes me feel positive. Anyway, to give you guys an idea on how I began, as I started my journey on YouTube, I was actually trying to make a stand on being an American who loves this beautiful country and try to unite people through my patriotic heart. I started my journey in January 2021 after you know what happened, and it was because in my heart I was totally over it. But as time grew, I was unfortunately surrounded by people who basically saw me as a disability, as a token, because they had me around them and they made it seem like they were cool. It was my mistake because I thought I should love everyone no matter what they have in life. Anyway, as May 2022 rolled around, my best friends came to me and saw an opportunity for me. I was curious about prepping because yes, my family has always reloaded ammo and my grandmother and cousin have always canned food, but other than that I hadn't really been into prepping myself. But after my friends and I talked about prepping for about 6 or 7 months prior, them and I decided that I should start something small since I was new to this. So we decided that I should try growing potatoes. That 2022 season was pretty good for me. Yes, I only grew 8 little potatoes, but hey, starting little.
Zach, I think there's a lot of what Zach said in there. And the first thing is, but let me give you some advice, and that there's always a critic. There's always going to be someone that says you can't do this, you won't do this, this won't happen. I mean, I've heard it my whole career, and all of that stuff. So I just want to tell you, don't listen to the critic.
Yep.
Don't, because they're nothing more than just a critic. And people are jealous. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the word prepping, and I think it's such an interesting word because I think every human alive today is a prepper in one form or the other. People have a 401k because they're prepping for a retirement. People carry, house insurance because they're preparing for a fire or for something else. We take car insurance because we're preparing for an accident. The fact of the matter is that most people just want to prep for certain things and not for all things. I think being a great prepper means you're prepping for good times and bad, not just bad times. You're prepping for your life to have this great existence, to live a life according to your own terms. Nothing more, nothing less. Grumpy, you were going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, but.
Oh no, I'm with Zach. I do not like the word prepper. The National Geographic had that stupid show, and they got such a bad connotation on that word that you say it and it turns people off. Now, thanks to what happened in 2020, 2021, not so much anymore. There's more people that have come around and understand it. But yeah, there's still I rather call it preparedness. I'd rather call it the preparedness community, right? And and the what is prepping? I'm gonna take what Zach said and back it down one level before that, because the very first catalyst for prepping that everybody I know is understanding that your life can change in a heartbeat. And literally, you've heard the term, the end of the world as we know it. The world as we know it ends every night when we go to sleep. We wake up to a completely different world than when we went to sleep. Right? So I think that's the first thing is understanding that the world is dynamic, and it's always changing. And like Tag said, it can change for the better, it can change for the worse, but you got to start preparing for it.
Yeah, Grumpy, can I add to what you said there? Because I think you were onto a really, really important thing right there, which is at the end of the day, it's about taking accountability for your life. It's about understanding that happiness is not a destination, that it's part of the journey, and it's the decisions we make every single day, creating the life that we want to live, right? And I think I want to stress it's our responsibility.
Absolutely.
That's what a prepper is. A prepper is somebody who takes responsibility for their own life, for the good and for the bad.
And my journey started, I worked for a computer company that was doing Y2K remediation, and I got to see firsthand what would happen to certain critical computer systems had there not been a lot of remediation. And it dawned on me as I was like 98, 99, it dawned on me that things could go sideways, and they could go sideways very easily. And if they went sideways, I had one of two choices. I could either decide to be responsible, like Tag said, and take care of my family, or I could buckle under and let somebody else do it for me. And that second option was a no-go. That was a non-starter, right? So it's like Tag said, taking responsibility, and it wasn't me; it was my family. It was my family's why I did it.
Grumpy, you want to answer the question?
Which one?
The one at the bottom of your screen.
What does peppering? Well, I'm I'm looking at the thing. There's so many things going through the chat. I'm trying to pay attention to both places.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
what does prepping mean to me? Prepping means to me. What does prep mean to me? Being prepared is being able to take care of any or as many situations that confront me with the tools, skills, and material I have on hand. I call it modern self-sufficiency. So I try to create these an infrastructure in the system and a lifestyle that allows me to take care of as much stuff as I can with what I have. And that was one of the reasons why we started looking for communities because you realize if you're really serious about being prepared, at some point you're going to realize that buying stuff can run out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the all the stuff that you have stacked up, there's a possibility, and sometimes a distinct probability that what you have on hand will not be enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you start looking, you start looking to make that transition into homesteading, and it starts with a lot of preppers in gardening and animal husbandry, and you take your you take your preps, and instead of having them in boxes and buckets, you've got them in pens and in fish tanks and every place else. And then after that, you realize that even if you have all that stuff, you can't do it all by yourself. And you start looking for like-minded people, and you start moving in that direction. You
You want to tackle this
know.
question, Grumpy?
Barbara asks, I am a prepper and learning from you guys. What is the difference from homesteading and freesteading? So I talk about the three pillars of homesteading: food independence, um, modern self-sufficiency, and community. Tag has come up. Tag developed. He's the one that's promoting this idea, and he's the one that's fleshed it out more than everybody is. I remember when we first started talking about it too, and it's really cool seeing where it's going. Freesteading is realizing that the system that we are in does not care about us,
Mm-hmm.
and freesteading is taking that extra step from homesteading to become free of that system, and more importantly, trying to change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd like to tackle this too, just to kind of grow on what Grumpy said a little bit. That as we talked earlier about all prepping leads to homesteading, and I think it does because eventually you figure out that you can only store so much food, right? And so we begin to look for other ways to store it. Well, so for most homesteaders, what that means is we're storing it on the hoof, we're storing it in the seed, we're storing, those kind of things. But when you take the next step to freesteading, it's exactly what Grumpy was talking about, which is it's trying to put yourself in a physical foundation that allows us to resist tyranny and to resist those systems that are out there by creating our own system. It's by yoking up. It's about building community. It's about creating barter systems. It's about, creating ways that we can live our life outside of the system. Another way we could have said it was, let's just go galt, right? We just exit the system. And so I think freesteading for me is just that next level from homesteading, when you finally realize, as Grumpy said, they don't care about us, and that we got to take the full responsibility. I went from storing my food on the hoof and in the seed to storing my energy in the tree. Right. And so it's just taking that next step to really trying to get out from underneath the chains that really enslave all of us today.
Hey, can I take a step back and clarify something for people though? The term homesteading. People have to understand something. The last homesteading law in America was taken off the books in 2008. In fact, I think the only place in the country that you can actually get land still under a quasi homesteading is Alaska, if I'm not mistaken. So what we were doing is not technically homesteading. All right, we're not out there carving out the land with hand tools and doing that traditional historic homesteading. What we are doing is we're doing modern homesteading, right? And unfortunately, with the way things are in America now, the the system has become so intertwined in our lives that it's extremely hard to get out of it. Tag will back me up on this. Even when you become your own energy producer, your own water producer, your own food producer, there's still so much out there that you have to interact with the greater world on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you think about it, why did all these towns? You know, we live in a small town in Kansas, or you and I do. Why did all these small towns pop up out on the western prairies? Is because even the true homesteaders had to go someplace to get what they needed. They couldn't make their own nails. They couldn't. You cannot grow sugar in Kansas, especially back in the 1800s. So when we're talking about making that move from prepping to homesteading, understand that there's still going to be a tie-in to the system, if you will, and the infrastructure. But the idea is to minimize that interaction as much as you can with it.
Well, and homesteading is also quite often based on a physical location, when freesteading is more based off of a mindset.
Right.
Right. And it's about challenging, those systems. But I think what Grumpy said is exactly right, and it's for someone who's been down the road a lot. And I challenge the whole freedom concept every single day in my life. But guys, I'm going to tell you, I still buy gasoline. I buy diesel fuel. I don't have a plant that produces, the oil filters for my machinery. Right. I don't have a sugar plantation or a salt mine. I mean, I'm still, part of the system. But to Grumpy, what Grumpy said, which is absolutely so critical, is let's play a game of gamification and see how far we can get free. I don't think 100% is freedom is possible, specifically because we still have property tax, which is the one last thing that will stop you from ever getting, truly 100% free. But I think we can challenge it, and I think we can get very, very close. To answer Zach's question, because he put it at the bottom, and we didn't go through it yet, is what does prepping mean to me? Prepping actually means to me safety. And I think what Zach said is really right. If something weird happened, let's not even talk about the big stuff, just the little stuff. A big ice storm came through or a tornado came through. I don't have to go to the store. I'm just fine. I can just make a pot of coffee and enjoy my day. And to me, there's some safety in that. There's some safety in me. Now, I look at prepping in a lot of different than a lot of people do, because like I said, I think everybody's a prepper to some degree, but knowing that I can withstand a long, long time from the perspective of a mortgage payment. Grumpy, you can relate to this as much as anybody can relate to this here. I get a chance to withstand a lot longer because I'm less and less and less dependent all the time.
Right.
There's less ways for that grip, to get in. The second part of his question was, how did I get started on and off YouTube? So many of you guys know my story. I worked for a financial holding company. I ran the revenue side. I made lots of money. They came to me and they said, hey, we want you to mandate the vaccine for all the employees. I refused. I lost my career. I got pissed. I came home and decided I was going to go yell at the world. Let's start a YouTube channel. And so really that's what happened. I mean, I really thought I would come and just make a bunch of noise, and it just kind of has evolved, kind of from there. So that's how I got started, Zach, was through all of that. I wanted to piss somebody off, and so I started a YouTube channel.
Okay, now let's talk about the original conversation that we had about YouTube as a group.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat down and we were talking about it when we were first trying to start building the community back in 2012, 2013, maybe a little bit later than that. Anyway, our great idea, and you'll laugh whenever you guys hear this, please. Our great idea was we could monetize and we could get extra income coming off our YouTube channels.
Ain't that a joke?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that did not work out well.
Yeah.
But then we, like Tag said, we started our channel and we were doing homesteading stuff, strictly homesteading stuff, and I lost my job because of the pokey. Well, I didn't lose my job. I quit my job because of the pokey, and because I wasn't going to let them do it to me, and it kind of changed, and it's over the past couple of years, it's morphed into more talking about freedom and independence and liberty than homesteading.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. Grumpy had his channel a lot longer than I did, and not a lot longer, a year maybe or whatever it was.
A year.
Is that what it was? Yeah, I drug my feet a lot. Well, right up until the whole thing happened, and then I got mad and decided it was time. But life's good, you know.
He's been attacking it with a vengeance since then.
Trying to.
Well, and since we're on the topic of the YouTube thing, you know, we had a get together because we had somebody coming in to look at some property about a week ago.
Yep.
And she found out about the area because of the YouTube channel, and she hates YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like social media, but she was here because of YouTube. So it is a good platform for spreading the word and spreading the message. You know, Zach got started because of YouTube. You know, getting out there and asking questions.
By the way, Zach, I have to tell you, since we're live, and I know I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. That's a really beautiful T-shirt. Just saying. Couldn't help myself.
See this one right here?
That's an original.
This is one of two originals, and I can tell mine from Yoda's because hers has got a little pine tree that came with it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the original two. One of the original two hats.
And that's some old school stuff there.
Should we share how we came up with the idea of a free man?
Go ahead.
I think it's a cool story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we sold a $500,000 piece of property for way less than what it was worth. Moved an entire working homestead from Missouri into Kansas in less than 45 days. Bought this burner downer, as my wife likes to call it, and we signed the papers. We closed on it, and Tag asked me how I felt, and I looked at him and I said, "Free man," and the light bulb on his logo literally went off. You could literally see it go off above his head, and the next thing I know, it was what, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he shows up at our house with these two hats. And gave it to us, and that's how the whole free man started. And he's handing these shirts out and these hats out and giving them to people that deserve it. You know, people in our community pay off their mortgages. They get a shirt. They're doing stuff like Zach. You know, so it's a, you know, if you see somebody that does not have a certifiable Tag free man hat, LifeDoneFree hat or shirt, they're posing. All right, they're posing.
Yeah, he did mean way more than the house is worth. He said way less, but we heard way more.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic.
It's all good. A lot of good comments. Be back. Going to get in the bushes. Radio Made Easy's got a good comment down there, Zach. Yep, right there. Prepping for me is the ability to perpetrate normalcy when the typical means of doing so are not available. Great way to say that. What do you think about that statement, G?
Prepping for me is the ability to prepare. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm not going to lie. I like ice cubes and bananas. And so at the end of the world, I want ice cubes. And if I can't have bananas, I want something that tastes like bananas, i.e. pawpaws. We can grow pawpaws here, and pawpaws taste like bananas. And yes, he's exactly right. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to wake up, and I don't have to turn the light on, but if I need to be able to turn the light on, I want to be able to turn it on. If I need to get water, like to not die, I want to get water. You know, so yes, that statement is 100% true.
Yeah, Terminator once says, "Does the Star of the Beast sticker count?" That's what she's talking about. Yes, it counts.
Yes, it counts. See, your favorite YouTube name, half bubble off plum.
Greatest name on the internet.
Yeah. To me, prepping makes things less stressful. Yes,
Yeah.
it's work, but it's less stress overall when you're prepared or stocked. Absolutely. There's a but there though. I guess it's an and. It's not necessarily a but. It's an and. You know, but the and part is freedom stressful, liberty stressful. Don't think that whenever you make the decision to do it, that everything's going to go away and it's become
No.
puppies and roses. It's not. In fact, in that sense, it becomes more stressful. But Tag, would you say it's a good stress? It's
I think it's a healthier stress,
healthy.
but I think it's more of it. I work harder today than I ever did in the financial world. And, I tell people all the time, you can have freedom or you can have safety, but you can't have both. Right. And you got to kind of pick one. I think, by the way, Rook, I wanted to mention back to the community. Todd says, hey, Zach, did you get the homework done I gave about the software so you could speak like Stephen Hawkins? And this is a great testimony to community right here. Todd was on a live and we connected Zach and Todd together. And I think Zach is working on his response to Todd. But I just wanted to say this was a great example of community when it all got reached out, absolutely beautiful.
Well, and that's, we've got tons of people in the community, online and in real life, that have so many different talents. And another reason why you want community is because how many people does it take to make a pencil? Guarantee you that. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
Todd, I've not tested yet. I have to get hands on a Windows computer to test it.
So, Zach, do you need a Windows computer? Do you have one, or can we see if we can help you find one? Yoda's comment was funny. She says, freedom has made my body hurt most of the time.
That's true. I'm sitting here right now, a little pained, cutting wood.
I think
half Bubble agrees too.
Yeah, but it's such a better life.
Most days.
I'm going to turn on YouTube on my other screen and see if I can get over to Zach's channel here so I can get him a thumbs up here. Oops. Apparently I'd already given one. I guess YouTube will only let you thumbs up at once, huh?
Yeah, if you do it again, you take it away. Although I'm looking at the channel. How many people are in here?
Well, I'm double checking here.
There's 37. There's 33 people watching and only 6 thumbs up. So there's 27 people out there that are slacking.
You must just be seeing your side because I'm showing 22 thumbs up.
I'm watching. I'm on Zach's channel.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry, bud.
I'll try and see if my stepbrother will let me try.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, does it need a special audio card or a lot of RAM? Okay. 32 thumbs up on Zach's now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not seeing those thumbs up. Now it's got 37, they say. My thumbs up is stuck at 6.
Yeah. Well, maybe your thumbs up stuck somewhere.
I have been accused of that.
Well, hey, Todd, not Todd, feel free to email me and reach out. If I could understand exactly what Zach needed in order to be able to run all of that stuff, we could have some conversation. But you got another question for us, Zach? I bet you do. Look at that. Johnny on the spot.
There's the man.
Yeah, he's going to play it, I'm sure.
He's prepared.
As we increase our items and our knowledge of prepping, for me, I believe that the next step we should take is actually evolving into what is called homesteading. Unfortunately, I personally don't know much about it yet because I'm still in the prepping phase of my journey, but what I've gathered in learning about this, to me, what homesteading is the evolution of gaining knowledge of skills that have to do with the prepping aspect but on a bigger scale in a sense. For example, I have been gaining knowledge in growing potatoes as a prepping method, however in the homesteading aspect of it, I might take that skill and turn it into actually learning how to grow bigger crops of potatoes. Yes, I might be a little off on explaining homesteading, but that's how I feel it should go when evolving your process.
Tag, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, so as you increase your prepping items or knowledge, what are the next steps in evolving, in your opinion? Yeah, so again, I think we touched about this a little bit earlier, Zach, but I think for me, what it was is I had come to the realization that I can only put up so much. And you got to rotate through it, and then you get into the problems of rotating through it, and then you end up throwing some of it away. And so I think that the next step in evolving is learning how to store your energy in a seed. Right? A seed vault, I think, is one of the biggest things you can own. And, I'm very lucky. I have a wife who grows her own seed, and our seed vault gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. But I think it's how do we store, our energy in a tree, or our food in a seed or on a hoof? How do we change from prepping beans to prepping seeds? If that makes sense. What do you think, G?
So I want to add something into the mix there. So there's an intermediary step between prepping and homesteading. And we call it prep steading.
Mm-hmm.
It's where, and you can actually jump back and forth very easily because we are more prep steading now than we were homesteading at the old place because we're rebuilding our infrastructure. But you start doing what Tag said, and I think that I think the key, the optimal word there is you start looking at sustainability, and that's where you start making the changes. I can store a match, or I can learn how to create fire by myself. Mm-hmm. Or you can evolve into, okay, how do I store the stuff to make fire, i.e. firewood. You learn how to do that. And that's a really simple analogy, but you start looking at sustainability, and mm-hmm. It's gardening is the easiest thing to start looking for sustainability first. In fact, a lot of preppers are gardening right now. And Tag, you said something earlier about homesteading being a location. Mm. Okay, I'm going to slightly disagree with you on this one. All right. So, homesteading modern homesteading is a set of actions, and it's that looking for sustainability, because a lot of people, when you say homesteading, they think of acreage. I got to buy acreage, and I got to do mm-hmm. this. There's a group of guys in Kansas City called the urban homesteading guys, and they live in what used to be one of the worst parts of Kansas City, and they are raising all kinds of food. They've got miniature cows and rabbits, and they're on city lots. They raise tilapia in the wintertime in Kansas City. They collect. At one point, they were collecting like 95% of their rainwater off their solar panels, and using that. So yes, homesteading is getting acreage, but you can also homestead on your city lot, your suburban lot. There's a guy in Los Angeles that makes 7,000 pounds of vegetables on a third of an acre. You know, there's a video out there. So don't think that you can't homestead or you can't start your homesteading journey if you're not on acreage. Start it on your patio.
Mhm.
Do what Zach's doing. Zach container gardening, right? Did you do container gardening or did you have a garden? You know, but we
Yeah.
okay.
He's working on it. Yeah, Grumpy, to just back to what you were saying, but you still agree, though, those people in Kansas City are at a physical location.
Yeah, but so are their
Mhm.
neighbors. So what's the
Right. But
difference? The difference is the mindset and the looking for sustainability.
see, I think you can freestead in a van driving around the country. I don't think you can homestead in a van driving around the country.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Mine for survival is freesteading in a van.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, a camper,
Right.
trailer. You know, but he's freesteading. He's you know.
Yep. I mean, I think you can find a way to challenge the system living in an apartment in New York City,
Yep.
but it'd be pretty hard to homestead there.
You know, and I think the one thing we haven't talked about, and it's something that happens at the very beginning of your journey, and then it happens periodically throughout your journey, and that's I'm going to use one word: decide. Make the decision. Decide to do it. Decide to make the change. Decide to be responsible for yourself. Decide that sustainability. You got to make a decision. You have to purposely make the decision. And Tag and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and you know people will tell you make the decision and don't look back.
Mhm.
Dude, you're gonna look back. It's human nature. You're gonna look back. The key is once you look back, turn your eyes back forward and keep moving forward. You know.
Go ahead, Zach.
Yep.
Grumpy, this year I'm gonna try raised beds. I'm really excited. And to answer your question, Lynn, I have to communicate through an iPad because I have cerebral palsy, which I can't communicate through my voice box.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you guys froze up. Maybe it was just me.
No,
No.
I was waiting for you to follow up.
I wanted, and Grumpy, just to go on something you said, I think is really, really important. When he's talking about making the decision, the only way we're ever going to get free is we got to be intentional in it every single day. And you got to, I can't tell you guys the hundreds and hundreds of people I know who sit around and complain that the world is all effed up, are upset about everything, but they don't get and do anything about it. They don't actually take that action. And gee, you know this about me. I've been asking all the time, what do you do outside of your own existence to further freedom this year? What have we done? And so it's about being, and this is true for homesteading. If I don't get up and fix the fence, the animals are going to get out. If I don't get up and feed them, they're going to starve. If I don't get up, right, it means you have to be intentional in what you do every day. And, I get a lot of people on my channel, who say things like, my wife's not on board, for example. And I always tell them, just get her to grow one tomato plant. Because one will turn into two, two will turn into 12. Go ahead, Zach. Okay, I thought you were going to say something, bud. No, okay. So, but if you can get them doing that, then pretty quick they've got a garden, and then they're headed to homesteading anyway.
Yep. Well, the one that drives me nuts, even worse, are you start telling your story and people get upset and they go, "Well, I just don't have the resources you have." Well, then do it with the resources you do have.
Yeah.
It may be harder. It may take longer. Not everybody can just up and sell their house like we did. And it jump started our journey because of it. But if you can't do it within the limits that you have, and look at expanding your limits because you're only going to become more free as you exercise your freedom. And actually, I'm going to use the word liberty, not free. You're gonna gain more liberty when you start exercising it.
Do you want to answer the question, Grumpy? You were up next.
As you increase your prepping items or knowledge, what are the next steps? Well, like I said, the next step is sustainability. That's that when you going from prepping into prep steading and then homesteading, it's increasing your sustainability. You know, and we've got a mutual friend, William Bond, Billy Bond's son over at Permapasture Farms. He's a permaculture consultant, and he goes on to people's property and he helps them develop a plan to making their property more sustainable and more regenerative. You know what the very first thing he says to these people that have all this land? The very first thing he says is, do not do anything until you've got 6 months of food saved up.
Yeah, but I think it's way bigger than that. It's not just food. I think you got to have food saved up, money saved up. I mean, the whole spectrum, right? Because it's not, this is part of the freesteading thing, that the box gets pretty dynamic. It's not, we sit and look about in levels of independence. Food independence is probably the hardest one to get to, but there's also energy independence, right? There's water independence, there's financial independence. There's a lot of different ones that we have to be aware of.
But you got to start someplace. You got to start someplace, and for most people, that starting down the road towards food independence is probably the easiest one, because you can do it. You can literally do it in a 5-gallon bucket on your patio.
I would argue it's the easiest to start, but it's the hardest one to achieve.
Oh yeah, no, I'm no disagreement there. Oh my gosh, no disagreement there. In fact, that's another reason for community. That's why as you evolve through your lifestyle, you want to find community.
Yeah.
Because I can't grow everything. I cannot grow corn to save my life, but somebody in our community can, and we can barter and trade for something.
Yeah.
Tag's wife does a great job on tomatoes and peppers. Fantastic, like abundance. And if we get to a point, where our crop fails, we might be able to barter. Because I guarantee, as much as Tag likes his thick and chunky salsa, he cannot eat as much as what B can make.
No, she can make way more than I can ever eat.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you can buy your way out of energy independence. You can, buy your way out of financial independence. You can buy your way out of water independence in a lot of cases, but you can't buy your way out of food independence. There's just no way. You cannot. You got to go out there and sweat and bleed and, and have the years where, you plant something, you don't get much, or we have 80 fruit trees, and I'll bet you last year, 25% of them didn't even flower. It's those kinds of challenges that, no matter how big a bank account you got, you're not getting out of that, not without your sweat and your blood. Rebecca had a good point too. Medical independence. That's another big one, right?
Oh yeah.
The health system. That's a big one. It's actually probably the one thing that stops more people from trying to homestead and trying to live off the land and those things is, what do you do about medical? You hear that a lot, G? I've heard that a ton.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm living it. I go to the 9-to-5 GOB simply because I want to have the insurance right now.
Right.
And I'm not financially set to where I can self-insure yet.
Yeah.
Someday, hopefully.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff coming in that.
Yeah. I try to read them as best I can, but I think Zach's got something for us here in a second. We always doing that. We got all of our gardens cleaned up. They're all ready to go. So the top 2 annual gardens are ready, and all the swells are all ready. It's just a matter of letting it grow and planting, and off we go. All the beginning stuff is done. All the mulch is moved. All the mounds are up. Everything's ready to go.
Well, neighbor Chris got a tiller for the skid loader. For his skid loader, and so I'm gonna commit the cardinal sin this year. That little, either hand tilling it, or hand turning it, or using that little walk behind tiller just is not a good idea around here. So we're gonna come over. He's gonna come over and finally get some good sized garden beds this year.
Mm-hmm. Bigby says, I would like to say evolving from once you start is building community. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
To be honest with you, in 2022, I only got 8 little potatoes, and last year I gained knowledge and got 2.1 pounds.
Oh, awesome. You got more last year than I did.
Yeah, Zach, you got more potatoes than Grumpy did, and he's only been gardening for 10 years.
No, try 20.
Oh, sorry. I stand corrected.
Yeah, try 20.
Yeah, so you're out gardening the 20-year pro down here. That should make you feel pretty good. Maybe Zach could give Grumpy some potato growing lessons.
Guys, think about this. Here's why I don't lose hope. A master gardener, say he's 70 years old, and he started his master gardening when he was 20. That's 50 years, right? So he's got at most 200 seasons to garden if he's living someplace where he can garden year round. Mm-hmm. If you live someplace where you can't garden in the winter, then you've got even less. Those people still have crop failures. Mm-hmm. It's gonna happen. There's things out there that you cannot control, no matter how good you are, right? So and you're gonna have crops fail, you're gonna have animals die, you're gonna have equipment that breaks, mm-hmm. And trust me, it's hard. It's hard to do because we've had a lot of setbacks in the last 2 years, and it's hard to keep a good attitude. But you got to understand that it's all worth it, and it's all recoverable. You know, so don't let it get you down. Right?
No, and guys, we plant with the theory we're going to lose 30% of our harvest every single year. We plan on it because of bugs or heat or drought or whatever. But this is a really good question down here. Just in Time says, my family still feels the call to move. It seems so complicated with a house full of stuff. Any suggestions? It's hard to know how to downsize when it's survival equipment and stuff. Laugh out loud. Got any advice for me?
Actually, I think you should take that one and tell them about dealing with your survival stuff, your prepping stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them about that.
Yeah. You're talking about the skid loader?
Yep.
And
the dumpster.
Yeah. So when I lost my career and we were going to move out to the homestead full time, I had been prepping for many, many years, and we had a pantry that was as big as most people, any bedroom anybody would have. It was lined full of shelves. It was full 100% of the time. And but the problem was I had to go, and I was running out of time. I had lived there 25 years, and I had 20 days to move because we had sold the house at the peak of the market. And so we rented a big dumpster, like on a semi-trailer sized dumpster. And the truth is I can't even tell you how many loads of canned goods in the bucket of my skid steer and dumped them in the dumpster because I just couldn't take them with me. And it was hard for me because I'd worked really hard, to put all of those things up. But at the end of the day, the next step for me was more valuable to me than those canned goods were. And, I just had to make a call. Like I couldn't have it all. Right. And I just had to do something. And so we did all of that. We threw away so much stuff. And we managed to keep, I bought 2 shipping containers and packed them full. And because when you go from living in a big house for 20 years to all of a sudden moving, which at the time was just pod 1 for me, it was much smaller. When you go to moving that, you just got to make some hard calls. And we had to make them. And, but I don't regret a single one of them. We're in a much better place today. Yeah. Is that the story you're talking about, G?
Yep, that's the one. That is the quintessential downsizing story in my mind, mm-hmm. Because it's making that hard decision, and you prioritize stuff, didn't you? You figured out what you would need, mm-hmm. absolutely in order to if something happened.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know what the dump would have thought when they dumped that dumpster full of canned goods, full of it's my wife's a big canner, and so she had canned many, 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 many jars of all kinds of stuff. And literally we opened them up dumped them, and then she took the jar back, washed it, we hauled the jar away so she could keep her jars, but we pretty much dumped about all of it. Just in time says shipping container, definitely. Is it true they tax you on it? Not where I live. So where I live, if it's under 350 square feet, which a shipping container is, and it's not permanently attached to a foundation, you don't pay taxes on it where I live. I don't know if it's true. Go ahead, Zach.
The importance of homesteading, what I feel, is not really to prep and gather items, rather we need to grow skills and the knowledge of how to take care of ourselves independently and get closer to moving off our government systems. In my heart, this is way to freedom because not only does it help us to be more self-sufficient in actually taking care of ourselves, but it also lets us develop our skills and abilities that God planned for us. In my honest views of today's society, I believe that this is the way God wants us to go, so we can be free and not have to worry about being dependent on people who really don't know us personally.
Can I take this one first, Tag?
Please.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna tell you about the 3 pillars of homesteading, and this is not anything groundbreaking. It's just something I came up with so I could quickly tell people about it. So you've got food independence, modern self-sufficiency, and community. The importance of homesteading and building those 3 pillars is it gives you options. Because every place that you interface with the system, they have what Tag calls sway over you. And they can control the food system. If you look at the modern food system, the just-in-time system, and it's anything you get at Walmart, anything you get at the supermarket, you get at O'Reilly's, any place. The just-in-time system. There are so many control points that if something goes wrong or somebody takes control of it, the process stops. Right? So our eggs, you know when our process stops? Our process stops when the chickens stop laying eggs. And we get years. This is, in fact, we've had chickens for almost 15 years now, or birds. We've had birds because we had quail before we had chickens. We had a 2-week period during that cold snap that we had. It was so stressful that they quit laying eggs. It's the first time in our entire chicken career that we did not get any eggs. And it was so cold here. We lost like 60 chickens in about 4 weeks because it was so cold. But it gives you options. Homesteading is going to give you options, and and options for freedom and liberty, right? And so
I would add, it's also going to give you confidence, which is a huge piece of this. What goes on between our ears is as big a piece as anything that will ever come against us. So I would argue, Grumpy, to your point, it would also give us confidence. And then, and there's only so much you can learn out of a book. I'm telling you that I own many, 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 many books that I read and thought for sure I knew what was, for sure that I knew that this is how you did it. And then I go out there and go, oh, well, an engineer built that book and that was great. But when I put the practicality to it, it changed things, I didn't mean to cut you off, Pete.
No, that you're absolutely right. Confidence. Because we've got a saying around here. So I've been doing gardening and animal husbandry since. Well, we did a little bit back in the 90s, but we really got into it in like 2003 maybe. So we've been doing it for quite a while, and we've got a saying that we say, "Thank God we're not starving."
Amen.
Because we are still learning after all these years. We are still learning, and you never stop learning. Again, that's why we get community, because we surround ourselves with people that are more knowledgeable about stuff than we are, and we grow from that. What about you, Tag?
Yeah, so when it comes to homesteading, what is the importance of it? Well, again, I think it's confidence. I think it's safety. Guys, I can't tell you how nice it feels to be able to just get up in the morning and go out there and know that we grew that or we raised that, right? Or furthermore, that we sawmilled that and built that. Zach talks a lot about the skills, and it's super important to learn them. And there's just so much to learn that if you're not doing it and practicing it every day, you'll never get it all learned, when the fact that you're not going to get it all learned anyway, which to G's point, why community matters so much, because you can't learn every single skill and you can't master every single skill. And I call people in our community all the time because I'm not sure how something's supposed to be, and because I just don't know. And so I think the importance of it is building your confidence. There was a comment up. Oh yeah. Masio Patriot said, I think it gives flexibility in thinking too, which I'll say that another way. It gives us the ability to adapt, to learn different ways to do things. And, it's so crazy. There's things we're doing today. Chickens. What a great example, because you brought up chickens. The way we grew chickens 5 years ago is not the way we grow them today. Right? Because we get more efficient at it. If anybody watches my channel, you guys know this. I'm on my wife all the time about, we work plenty hard, but are we efficient? And she, as we continue to adapt the systems, she pretty much just gives me the look like piss off, but there's some truth to it, and so I think the importance of it is refining your systems, getting better at your systems, getting better at being dependent on yourself.
Into the skills issue. As cliched as it sounds, knowledge weighs nothing. And every skill that you learn is another tool in your toolkit. And that's all homesteading is. That's all homesteading is creating a toolkit for your daily life.
Yep.
And being able to pull something out of it and take care of a problem or take advantage of a situation.
Yep. Yeah, there was a kind of, to put this in relative everyday terms, I had a guy who had work, lost his job, was hungry, couldn't afford to eat, asked if I had any work for him. I said I'd give him a little bit of work. Comes out, he was going to use my four-wheeler and my trailer to go pick up some brush, and couldn't get the four-wheeler started. And then he said, hey, I can't get the four-wheeler started. So I went out there, pulled the choke, turned the key, starts right up, put the choke back. So the point is, you learn, right? I can start it every single time, super, super easy. But if you don't know how to do it, then if you haven't lived it, then you just don't know how to do it,
Yeah. Darren taught me combustion, fuel, and compression.
Yep.
Those are the key things for any engine.
Yep.
No matter what it is.
Yep. Go ahead, Zach.
With the skills and knowledge that we learn from being a homesteader, I truly believe the next step in this journey is eventually evolving into what we call freesteading. For me, what freesteading is actually having your homestead and building a community of like-minded individuals around your area to where we can actually move off the system and make our own living, laws, school systems, where we can have a functional society that we can build ourselves and not worry about a federal government that is trying to control us to fill their own pockets. This is very important to me personally because after everything that happened 4 years ago and how everything went down, I look at things in a prepping manner and say that they don't really care about us. I'm still a patriot, my blood is still for this beautiful country, but I want us to have freedom, and unfortunately the government doesn't have that for us, especially since they give us an identification number immediately after we are born. It's like they're tagging us like freaking cows, and it's disgusting. Rant over, but that's how I feel.
Get him, Zach.
Get him, Zach. Zach, you make me proud, man.
Spags has got his little Greta thing where he holds it up and he goes, "Get him, Greta." We need to make a little Zach on a stick, and when everybody starts ranting, we just hold it up and go, "Get him, Zach." I think I may do that.
Yeah. I think Zach's right, though. I think that the natural progression from homesteading is yoking up and finding other homestead and finding community and starting to challenging the systems that are around us. Because that's really what we have to do. I tell people on my channel all the time, and I want to stress it here tonight. Guys, we don't have to fight them. We have to ignore them. That's all it is. Do our own thing, make our own way. We don't want to get into all of that stuff. We don't want to get into the politics. We don't want to do any of those things. What we want to do is ignore them and begin to create our own systems, our own processes. Zach mentioned schools. I would go further. I would go to say places of worship. I would say commerce, right? I would say the labor force. I'd say, how we get our water, how we get our food. I mean, I'd love to evolve to a place one day where I can barter my produce on my farm for different produce on another farm because they're growing totally different things than what I'm growing, right? And by design and by plan, right? And by definition. So I think that's great. And just again, Zach, you wear that shirt proud, bud. I'm proud of you. I liked what you said right there. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Kind of hard to elaborate on it.
Yeah. Go ahead, G.
So the community angle of it, in my opinion, and this is just my experience, and other people may disagree with me, but in my experience, if you're making that leap into freesteading, having a community is probably the most important thing.
Yes.
And I look at it akin to a bundle of arrows, and I use this all the time whenever we're talking to people. You can take a single arrow and you can snap it.
Mm-hmm.
But you add a second arrow to it, it becomes harder and harder. And you add enough arrows to that bundle and you cannot break it. It'll bend, but it won't break.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that important? When you're in community and you get people that are like-minded around you, and you start looking to expand your liberties and expand your freedoms, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get pushback in all sorts of forms, in all sorts of ways. And at times it's very hard to make it's very hard to make the decisions. And you wake up out of the matrix and you got one of two choices. You can be like Neon and you can pursue liberty, or you can be like the character in the first movie that sat down and ate the steak and said, I want to eat a steak. And so he went back into going back into the system after he escaped it, killed him. So there's that, but you understand what I mean is you've got people around you and you can make those hard. There's absolutely zero way that I could have made the decision that I made to separate from my job and make the change had I not had a community around me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the reason why we ended up in Kansas and not on the Missouri side, where I'm a Missouri boy through and through. And Kansas is not my ideal place to live, except for one thing. This is where the community was.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the community was.
Yeah. Community makes everything easier. Everything.
Exactly. And I think the most important thing about community, I was thinking about this the other day, that whole being able to make the hard decisions and do it, resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
Community gives you resiliency. It gives you resiliency in the material world. It gives you resiliency in the way you think, and you're able to insulate yourself better and become more resilient in the process.
Go ahead, G.
Okay, so let's get in the Wayback Machine. So there used to be it's still there as a matter of fact.
Now, guys, this is back when Grumpy was in his 40s, before cars were invented. So back away.
Yeah, I had my Flintstone car. There is a community online called the Survivalist Boards. All right, and it was where preppers came together and they talked about prepping and all this stuff. Well, there was this group on there that started promoting a camp out over on the Kansas side, and it wasn't too terribly far. And Yoda and I had decided that we needed to start looking. We had to be responsible for ourselves, and we had to start looking for community. We could not rely on somebody else to do it for us. All right. So I figured, what the heck, I had the weekend off, and I drove out there. I left Yoda at home because I told her, these people may be crazy. They may be completely off their rockers. And I show up. First person I meet was Patrick Henry, one of the guys that's coordinating Midwest Proudness Festival. He comes walking across the road in the campground with his hand out. He shakes my hand, and I had a good weekend. There were some very strange people there, and some of them are still there, but they're my very good friends now. And so that's how it all started. I went to a camp out, and tag in the court. There were how many people did you start off with the campouts? Maybe 5 families.
Yeah, the first one, so 20, this will be 22, this one. So the very first one had 6 people in it total.
You know, and I went there, I think 4 years after you guys started it.
Mm-hmm.
But twice a year we go do these campouts, and we did not start talking about community until 2018, maybe. Before that we were all just associates, right?
Yeah.
And we were each trying to do our own thing, and we figured out that we were all nominally pointed in the same direction, and we actually started trying to do a prepper mag, and having a bug out location. And we had a meeting. In fact, it was at Tag's place on the concrete pad that became Pod 2. Yeah, became Pod 2, but at that point it was just a flat concrete pad. And we had a discussion about what community looks like, and what the mag would look like, and what the rules were, blah blah blah. And after 5 hours, all we could come up with was, we need another meeting. Seriously, that's the way. That was what we got out of it. And then after that, I think me quitting my job, and this is just from my point of view, me quitting my job was the first thing that the way our community grew organically and how loosely it grew. Me quitting my job was the first action that brought. I don't want to. Okay, I'm not taking credit for it. Don't think I'm taking credit for it. I'm not. I'm just saying, from where I'm standing, the road towards what our community looks like now started whenever we made the decision to do what we did. Because before that, they had a community here that was exactly like what it is now, but people weren't moving in and out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we came in, and 3 years later, 2.5 years later, we've got how many extra people, Tag? How many more people in the community now?
Oh, in the last 2 years, maybe 20.
Yeah. And you ought to tell them why the community works so good, why, and how it's kind of different from a lot of other things. Just us having our own properties.
Yeah, so I was part of one of those prepper groups many, many years ago, and it was a great group. And we worked, pretty much together every weekend. We shot, we built things, we, did all kinds of things. But there was always a fundamental flaw in it, and that was that we were all going to bug out to one location, and then you get into the, my house, my rules thing, and you get into the little interpersonal things, and I learned some big lessons from that, going through all of that. And so, in the reboot of the community, as we began to reach out to try to do it again, the lesson that I learned was that what we had to have, each family, excuse me, had to have sovereignty. And that sovereignty would be the glue that would hold us all together. What I mean by sovereignty is, if we're out at a community event and Grumpy makes me mad, I can just go home. I have my own property, my own things, my own rules, my own whatever, and my rules are what dictate what happened on my farm. It's not a community effort, as far as how my farm runs. And so I think that the secret ingredient to what makes what we have so beautiful today is that we have true sovereignty, and everybody has it. And I think to me, that's the biggest piece. Is that what you're referring to, G?
Yes. And you say it way better than I say it, because, mine involves a little cursing,
Yeah.
But, and the thing about it, and this is, I don't want it to sound like I've got a problem with mags, because I know people that have very successful, long-standing mags that have been around way longer than what we've got. A lot of people, when they go into the mag and they get in the prepper mindset, the first reaction, if things go south, is to wall themselves up, and for security, and it makes sense. The problem I see with that is you cannot you cannot interact with the community. You cannot try to take the community in a better direction than what it's going in, because you have to be willing to go out there, especially right when things go south. You
Mhm.
have to be able to get out there and interact with the community and try to build a better version of what it would be otherwise.
Mhm.
You can't abdicate the community to the bad guys, is basically what I'm trying to say. And the cool thing about the way our community is set up is we are starting to, instead of waiting for the bad times to come, we're in the good times and we're starting to affect the community. We're starting to affect local politics. We're starting to affect um, local religious stuff. We're the economy. You know, our community stood up side by side with one of the cafe owners in a small town close to here, where we go have our get-togethers now, and helped her weather a problem. And she didn't know us from Adam. She didn't. I think you and B were the only ones that really knew her, right?
Yeah, so we weren't the only ones. Indiana and them knew them
Okay.
pretty well at that time too, but it wasn't like it is now. Like now, she closes the restaurant down and opens up for our community. Like now, it's totally changed because we came to her aid. Um, Go ahead, G. Sorry.
Leela, yes, Meg. I'm sorry, Meg is Mutual Assistance Group.
Yep.
You know, but so yeah, so you have to get out there and that's one of the steps into freesteading is is molding the right word tag, molding the greater community. Is that the right term, or is it something
Um,
else?
Molding's an okay word. I mean, it's just about being intentional. I think that's really where what you're talking about is you got to do it with a purpose, and you got to do it honestly, and you got to do it without, if all you're looking for is what's in it for you, you're going to struggle, But if you look at the bigger picture, I tell this story a lot on my channel, but my wife once said to me early when we were dating, she says, there's three people in our relationship. There's you and me, and then there's us, and all three of them need attention. And so I look at community kind of a lot way. I have the tag clan and you have the grumpy clan, but we also have to be aware and conscious that we also have the community. And that community needs attention just like the Yoda clan does and just like the tag clan does. Right? We have to just be intentional.
Hey, to speak to what half bubble out plum said about uh, lacking where he is. I think that's indicative of our culture, because there used to be a time when you knew your neighbors. We would not have to be building community if our culture had not changed to the point where we don't talk to our neighbors.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So
great
this,
point.
and we're not building liberty, and we're not building community. What we're doing is we're reestablishing it.
Great point, G.
We are
That's a great
reestablishing it.
point.
Can I
That is
answer Mrs.
great.
Ghettos about kicking someone out?
Go ahead.
No, we haven't, because we don't have to. We don't. If Tag doesn't get along with somebody, the community is big enough that on a daily basis he doesn't have to interact with them. We go to these community, these get-togethers and stuff. You don't have to interact with the person if you don't like them. Now I'm sure there may come a day when somebody's an arsonist, or they're somebody who's a true psychopath. I mean, that's a bridge we may have to cross, but in the normal running of the community, it's not something that we have to worry about, because we're not set up where we're that interdependent on each other.
I think there's another really important point here too. So we've had people in the community do things that weren't very popular. Let's just put it that way. But the problem kind of fixes itself in a lot of ways. And let me explain what I mean by that. So one of the questions I get asked a lot about is, how do you get into the inner community? Because you guys know, for who watch my channel, I view community as a series of rings. It's not one community. We're part of 4 communities, right? And just how I personally view it. But they always talk about how do you get in a community, and I always tell them, just be involved. If you're part of the solution, then you'll be part of the decision. It's really basic, right? If you do your part plus a little bit, then everybody relies on you and depends on you and your opinion's heard. If you don't, if you be a shithead and you never show up to anything, then no one reaches out for you. I mean, it doesn't matter. And so I think it all has to do with that. And I think it's kind of a self-fixing problem in a lot of ways. Gee, did I say that okay?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I could not have said it better.
Yeah, Independent Many United wants to know what state we're in. We're in Kansas.
Yeah. And if you can put up with all the KU and K-State fans, it's actually a pretty decent place to live. Oh my God. They let you know that they're KU and K-State fans constantly. They're almost as bad as Texas fans.
Almost, not quite.
Boom.
Almost. All right, Zach, go ahead, bud. Oh, sorry. I don't know if Zach. There you go.
After we get to freesteading, I feel like that's the ultimate goal to becoming free and sustainable without the government. I understand that there will be things that you still need, like gasoline and more. It's a slow progression and it'll require time, patience and commitment to build this, but I feel that freesteading is the breath of fresh air.
No, I agree.
Yep, I like that. I think I would add one other thing that, and I've told many people this, Zach, that I don't think we can get there. But I think the next step after freesteading is to be a true free man. Again, I don't think we can get there because there's things out there like property tax, and there's things out there that are going to really hinder our ability, right, to reach that pinnacle of 100% liberty or 100% freedom, depending upon how you want to look at it. But I think the goal of freesteading is to push the boundaries of getting free. Right?
Yep.
Go ahead, G. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think you said it great. And in my mind, what that looks like is, again, you're influencing the community. You get community members into positions where decisions are made for the greater community, right? And so freedom and liberty. I think that's an important. There's an important distinction between the two, and I learned this from an anarchist of all people. I learned this from an anarchist. Freedom is the ability to do whatever you want. Liberty is the ability to do whatever you want, governed by morals and ethics, and having a moral framework to work in. And I think whenever you make that jump to freesteading, this is why we talk about the ethical aspects of homesteading and all this other stuff. We want to make sure that we're building that framework, and part of building that framework is building a greater community that has that framework too. Because if you've got local leaders that do not have the same idea of what freedom and liberty should look like as you do, they're conflict. That we see that right now between the whole idea behind freesteading. I heard this on a video the other day, and I was like, blew my mind. The whole idea of freesteading is to put government as far away from you as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's what a good politician does. So you want to get politicians locally that want to put government as far away from you as possible. Mm-hmm. I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't. Somebody else came up with that idea. They said it and it stuck in my head.
Yeah, I actually think that's super, super well said. And I think the better we get it out there, right, the further we get it out there, the better it is. But I think you can't have freedom if you're imposing your will on somebody else. True freedom means that it's free for everybody. And so I am not free to go onto your property, G, and do what I want, because I would be infringing upon your freedom.
Right.
So freedom only works if it's, to me, at least in my view of freedom only works if it applies to everybody equally.
Right. Well,
which I think is where your morals come in.
Throughout history, there's been a lot of bad stuff done by men that were able to do what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, see, to me that's not freedom. That's tyranny, right? I mean, they're doing it to us now, right? I mean, the people at the top now are pushing their rules, their regulations, and their beliefs, down upon us. They probably feel super free. They can do whatever they want to, but freedom only exists if it exists to the benefit of everybody.
Can I answer Mrs. Ghetto's question?
Of course.
May I please?
Of course.
We have one rule. There is only one rule.
One rule.
Jack knows what I'm going to say.
One rule.
There's one rule, and that is, don't be a dick.
And he is serious. That is truly the rule.
Yeah, that is. But if you're, think about it. If you're a true community member, you don't want to do that. And we inadvertently upset each other constantly. It's human nature. We're going to make mistakes. But the thing about it is it's not intentional, and everybody has an open enough mind that and trust me, you will get called on it whenever you inadvertently do it. Somebody will say something, and somebody will call you to task.
Yep.
But that's why you have community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's interesting, and I've existed in groups that had SOPs for everything. Literally had SOPs for everything. It works so much better the way we do it. One rule, it's a simple rule, live to that rule, just don't be a dick. Yeah, good job, Grumpy. There's a reason, Todd, they call him Grumpy, just so you know.
Okay, Todd, not Todd. Okay, it's a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum, and there's a good part of the spectrum and a bad part of the spectrum. Because Tag tiptoe. Well, no, he doesn't tiptoe. He jumps across the line into that good part of the spectrum. He jumps both feet. He jumps into that constantly. But that's what makes Tag. In fact, I keep telling him I'm going to eventually do it. I'm going to get a great big paddle, like a canoe paddle, and I'm going to have stuff stirrer on it. I'm going to use a different word though, and I'm going to give that to him because he is. You remember that good stress we were talking about at the beginning of the live stream? He is constantly in there stirring stuff up, trying to get good stress going.
Yes. Well, I'm a big believer, just so everybody knows in my defense, I'm a big believer in that I cannot be a true friend unless I help put people out of their comfort zones. It's the way I believe.
And he does it with a vengeance. Right, Yoda?
I've only made Yoda cry once, just for the record.
Well, that you know of.
That I know of, right? Right, fair enough. That's fair enough. I know of one. But it was fun. She says, and Yag can do it. I'm not sure who Yag is.
So Karen W. says that if you guys don't know who Nick Freitas is, he's a former Special Forces guy who is a member of the Virginia House. Nick Freitas had a short suggesting farmers stop doing everything for a year, then politicians stop doing anything for a year, and see which of the two people can get along without. Bingo.
There's a lot of really good comments.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are on fire, man.
Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead, buddy.
When I'm feeling ornery, I just pull out my helium voice.
Oh, that was great.
Yes. You should have some pre-recorded songs like the Mickey Mouse Club or something. When somebody irritates you, you just hit that button and do it with the helium voice.
Eagle Lover had a good question. She asked, has anyone ever put Tag out of his comfort zone? Many people. Many, many people. And there's a handful of people inside the community that are great at it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the discourse. I love the open debate. Absolutely love it. but I'm not going to lay down and take it either. I'm going to do my best to combat it. Ninja.
Hey, before we go on, do you have any steps further to becoming free, or is it the end goal for independency? So I think it's important to talk about the first step. So many people, especially, because you get in the prepper mindset and you start out not trusting people, right? You don't want people to know the stuff you got, security, all this stuff. The very first step is you have to decide to talk to people, and you have to be willing to open yourself up. So there's a lot of people that do not they would not put a YouTube channel up.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had this discussion, Tag and I have, and with some other people, is that you have to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to give you the freedom and the options and the resiliency to do what you want to do. But you have to open yourself up. So
Mm-hmm.
don't sit there thinking, I can't talk to anybody. You got to talk to somebody. And in my opinion, so this is going to sound stupid. Every time I say it, I cannot believe these words come out of my mouth. The best way to open up and meet people is have a potluck.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. Get two people have them invite two people, and then have those people invite two people. We did that here. The community had been started and had been going on for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, longer. We had a potluck, and it exploded. And it didn't explode necessarily because people moving in. It exploded because we met so many other people that had their own communities.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a bunch of communities around us.
Oh, yeah.
And that gets into the circles of communities that we talk about, right? The Crew, the Mag, the Vine, etc. Kansas is very well represented, as is Missouri.
I think I counted at the last Midwest Preparedness Festival. I counted five different circles or tribes, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And I'm sure there were more there, but I just didn't recognize them. Okay. That's going to drop another knowledge bomb on us.
Yep. Yes, you are, Spags. Yes, you are.
The Spags in here?
Yeah.
Thought I felt the property value go up.
Yeah, he says we are everywhere. Haha.
Yes. Well, and think about it. Well, Zach's finishing up what he's typing. Think about it. If a group of people makes the community strong and makes it unbreakable, what happens when you add 3 or 4 communities to that equation? How strong does it become?
Comes way more decentralized. Yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
Hello, this is George from New York. Do you need a car warranty?
I do need a car warranty.
So I think that Mrs. Ghetto put a comment. Do y'all have a goal for how many can come to your community? Tag, you want to address that? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, so I think it all comes down to what are your goals, and so I think, and I'm not talking about goals for the number of people in a community. I'm talking about what are your goals for the bigger pictures for the community. And I'll tell you just some things you could look at. For example, in my community, in the county that I live in, the county commissioner was elected with 258 votes. I'll leave it at that.
Well, tell them how many people in a community, because that makes it even worse.
Yeah, so 5,000. Is that right? How many people are in Jackson County? 7,000.
Yeah, it's somewhere just a little bit north of that.
Is it? Yeah. So let's just call it 10,000 people. Yeah. But the commissioners are elected with 258 votes.
Yeah. And so, well, I did not make the meeting, but the county commissioners meeting for say 10,000 people had 6 attendees.
6 attendees.
6 attendees.
Yep. Yeah, but you allowed Yoda to go, didn't you?
I didn't allow her. In fact, I sent her because I got home and I had stuff to do and I didn't want to. I don't like meetings. I do not like meetings.
Well, Yoda said earlier that you wouldn't allow her to go to the camp out. So I was just figuring. I just going with it.
What? If I thought that the county commissioners would murder her or pack her off to Mexico, traffic her, I probably would not let her go to those meetings. It just depends on how nice she was at me that day.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I was just playing everybody. Yoda said earlier that Grumpy wouldn't allow her. Anyway, before I get myself in trouble.
Well, and I think it's important. The ability for the area to carry a load is gonna dictate how many people you actually get into a community.
Yeah.
Because
the truth is, if we had half that number, if we had 150 people pushing the boat the exact same way, you'd make a huge dent in elections here.
Oh yeah.
I think Zach is up to something. What else we got in here? Yeah, Yoda came right back with allow in capital letters. That's hilarious. I wish I could copy and paste it because she did say up here somewhere that you didn't allow her. I'm just saying. I don't know where, but somewhere.
I did allow her to go to the second one though.
You did? That was nice.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one that it rained 6 inches the day it started.
Yep. Normally my normal self, I would just poke on this point for a little while, but I'll just leave it be right there. Just for your own safety tonight, G.
Oh, I'm used to it. I got a thick hide.
Yeah. I think
Joseph G just gave you an idea for a video about
where?
measuring the amp hours for a refrigerator or a large deep freeze.
I've never measured just those two, but we do go and quite often we'll shut something down, a breaker down that controls one piece of something and get an idea of where it is, Oh, yeah.
Now, Eagle Lover's piling on. Spags and Eagle Lover are piling on.
Oh my goodness.
This is the fun part of community, guys. we tease each other mercilessly, and it's all in good. It's all in good fun.
Go ahead, Zach.
Any last words, guys?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start, Grumpy. Yeah, guys, I think, my parting words is, take everything that we talked about tonight, chew on it, think about it, all of those things, but nothing's going to happen if you don't take action. It's just a fact. And you got to be intentional in what you do. And, whether that's going out, Zach, and going for 7.5 pounds of potatoes this year, right? Whether it's, talking to somebody at the Tractor Supply, whether it's, getting out there on YouTube, whatever it is. But if you want to build community, if you want to be involved in all things, you have to go out there and be intentional. And so what I would just encourage everybody to do is just go do something tomorrow. Be proud of yourself. Look in your mirror and say, hey, I'm proud of what I did today. I'm proud of my efforts today. I did something today. And do that every single day. And what will happen is wake up in a couple of years and you'll be like, man, that was cool. Look at all we did. All because we just went and took that step and we were intentional.
Yep.
G?
My final thought would be the statement or the thing, every journey starts with a step, right? That's false. Every journey starts with the decision to take that first step. And the first step's easy. The first step's extremely easy. The hard part about any place you are where on your journey from prepper to homesteader to freesteader, the hardest parts of that journey are when you have to make those hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And you will make hard decisions. And you will, so you need to decide what you want to do. And I heard something the other day, and I thought it's a great thing. So ask yourself to describe who you are in one word, and the first word that comes to your head is what you use, and do that 2 more times. That is how you prioritize your life. That is how your life is prioritized at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be a homesteader and you're not, that homesteader is not in the very first place, change it. Make the decision to change it. It's hard. It is. It's extremely hard. Making these decisions is hard, and you're gonna face a lot of hardships. It's scary. It's dirty. It's expensive. My gosh, you can get expensive. Not only monetarily, but emotionally and physically. It's expensive. That's that energy capital that Tag's always talking about.
Yeah.
So just decide. Just decide to make a change. Decide to be a better person. Decide to surround yourself by good people, because you're a reflection of the 5 closest people to you.
Yeah. Amen.
You know.
Zach, you got parting words? Oh, he's working on his parting words.
He is furiously typing away.
I can't tell you how cool Zach looks in a Freeman shirt. Just saying.
Yeah. I said it before. I'm proud of him.
I'm proud of him too.
From where he started to where he is now and where he wants to go.
Yep.
Is remarkable.
Yep.
And anybody that's watching this, and you're coming up with excuses not to do it,
mm-hmm.
Because of Zach, your excuses are invalid.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Hey, one note while he's getting ready too. Listen, if you guys are trying to build community, if you want to talk about it, if you want tips, I promise you, Yoda and G are available. I'm available. Reach out, send an email. I promise you, we're happy to help. Let's go build these communities all over the country, because with it, we can create parallel society, parallel economy, parallel systems. And with that, we can truly starve the beast.
And if you see us at a festival, because we're not doing as much as we did last year, but we are doing festivals. Stop by and talk to us. Don't be afraid. Chances are I'm not going to remember who you are by your screen name. I mean, I remember who you are if I talked to you before. I'd be honest with you, just because I'm.
But I'm nicer than Grumpy is. There's a reason he got the name Grumpy. Just saying.
I'm old and tired. The coolest thing, and I think Tag would agree with me on this. The coolest thing would be if a year from now, somebody comes up to us or somebody contacts us in an email and they say, "I saw you a year ago. This is what we've done. This is
Amen.
where we are. This is how we're building our community."
Amen.
That's the coolest thing, and it happens. It's one of the things I like about going to the festivals, is that we meet people multiple times and they're heading down that journey towards LifeDoneFree.
Amen. And it's an incredible journey, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a hard one, but well worth it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Everything's. Man, he must have a hell of a statement coming.
Tag,
Over there typing. See the fire's coming out of his fingertips.
Well,
yeah.
Wait. Who are you rooting for tomorrow?
I don't care.
Ah.
I actually probably, if you made me pick, I'd probably be rooting for the 49ers, but I would probably don't really care.
You're just being facetious. You're just being mean.
All right, Zach's ready. Let's hear it, bud.
My last words are that we need to prepare towards getting to freedom one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get overwhelmed by knowledge, but take it as a step in the right direction. Thank you everyone for coming and learning tonight. We appreciate you more than words can express. I love you all. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Colossians 3:13 NIV.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Zach, for having us tonight. I appreciate you, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Zach.